from a Gen Z perspective of society, wage growth has largely lagged asset price growth.
Yeah.
So let's assume in India, salaries are growing by 5%, but assets like your home, your equity, whatever investment you have is growing at 10%. As long as that is the case, the wealthy will continue to get wealthier because they have the assets which are growing faster. How do you guys see that world? How do you, I know you come from a fairly, I would not like to say how privileged, how whatever, but I think it's fair to say everyone here is from a privileged background. And I think there's no point making it look like that is a bad thing. You're a circumstance of where you're born, and I don't think anybody can judge you for that. I think just life, right? But how do you think of income inequality in the ecosystem?
The answer to this is like employee, like, and we do this with pretty much everybody on the team. Employees owning some piece of equity.
That's more. I mean,
that's hard to scale.
No, you get to like.
And that is very subjective to startups, companies which are starting to grow, which is a very microcosm of.
Yeah.
If you're creating value, what you can do with your profit, there should be some limitation there. Like if you look at pre-80s in the US, you didn't have the ability, you had very strict regulation on share buybacks. Right?
Tell me broadly in society, there is income inequality, current situation, this will continue to rise. What does the government do? How does the Gen Z feel about it? You said...
Yeah, look, see, I mean, to be honest with you, if you want to say broadly, it's like a sweeping, it's sweeping enterprise reform, right? Like antitrust laws, right? That's one of the levers, right? Antitrust, like what I just mentioned on giving value back to employees, on and to an extent tax, right? But then the tax itself, slightly suspect. Like what does a tax accomplish?
Maybe you don't have to frame it as taxing an entrepreneur, but you could say property taxes.
Yeah,
taxes on inherited wealth.
Yeah.
Not taxes that will disincentivize people to earn an extra amount of money today, but taxes on money that has been in the equation for a long time.
Actually, the answer to the question though on a side note is like entrepreneurship. You create more entrepreneurship.
I think that's a good answer.
It's not zero sum.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Like the more entrepreneurship, the more wealth creation by default. You want to optimize that also to make it more...
Yeah. And tax in such a manner that entrepreneurs are encouraged left, right and center.
But how are you going to go about creating entrepreneurship?
Nikhil?
No, I have an answer to this.
Yeah.
Tax property. Precedent in America, if you live in Connecticut, you pay almost 1.5-2% property tax. Most of India's ill-gotten wealth somehow finds its way into property.
Correct.
This is going to sound bad, but I don't think farming income above a certain threshold should be subject to no tax, because a lot of people use that loophole to do other things. And inheritance tax, precedent again in the UK, in the US, take all the money which comes from this, increase the quality of education that is given out for free, help entrepreneurship thrive.
I'm saying, how do you encourage entrepreneurship in younger people?
How do you inculcate them, or how do you facilitate them by providing capital?
The solution is entrepreneurship, and our 24 to 30 or whatever is 60% of the population, then how do you position entrepreneurship as an aspirational career for a 24-year-old?
I think we're doing that a little bit right now.
No, but I'm saying that the reality for, say, like, we may be different. I'm saying the reality for tier 2, tier 3 is that, their parents have spent a certain amount of money on an education. They graduate, they either do MBA, they go into engineering or whatever stream they're in. They graduate and their immediate thought is not that I'm going to take a financial risk and start a company, but I'm going to work for 10 years, get a stable income, and then maybe pay my parents back. Then once I get, up to a certain level of salary, then maybe I will think about doing this on the side, see if that works, and then maybe switch to that if I see that this is something I can do risk-free. I don't know if that is at least that's what I
think,
feel
like-
is the mindset of a lot of college students today.
Yeah, I get you.
They're not willing to take that risk.
If instead of the social cause that we all choose to come together on, a lot of people come together and choose causes around funding young, bright people who want to start a business with not necessarily risk to reward in mind. That's an example. And even in the current ecosystem, there are so many outliers. Like, I started earning a wage. I used that money to start trading. I used that trading money to do other things in life. And I started from a certain point, which is near zero. So the opportunities do exist. What I think we should do also in society is sell the narrative of being an entrepreneur. Up until now, our role models in society were actors, they were cricketers.
Yeah.
You're talking about roles where India can have 11 cricketers who played for the Indian team
but
growing up.
to your point, I think also selling the narrative of entrepreneurs, but selling the narrative of not what the conventional entrepreneur has been for the longest time, but who entrepreneurs really are today, which are 19, 20-year-old kids. It could be a 50-year-old housewife. It could be really anyone. So I'm saying that selling that narrative is going to work more than selling the narrative of, a founder who works
Not just them, but both of you. I think the point of
unconventional
today is that.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what we need to sell, not just that characteristic that we've always had or that
Modern,
stereotype that
yeah.
you had for an entrepreneur for the last 10 to 15 years.
Not at all.
Gujarati guy.
And I think-
it has to
and
be
like old school.
It has to be more in tune with what the reality is. And I think today entrepreneurs go wider than just, startup founders and what we do. I think that, there are a lot of other definitions of what that is today in India. And I think that's what needs to be sold.
Yeah.
So that people know that there is more than just that
100%.
one stereotype of what entrepreneurship
I think
means.
5 boys are going to watch this today and they're going to look at these 2 kids and they're going to be like,
Some
okay,
Korea's kids when he's turning 21.
I'm 21.
Kids,
and they're going to be like, wait, they applied for a fund and got 40 lakhs to attempt
Let's
to build
do
a
it,
business. They said the name of the fund. People will look that up.
Yeah.
The idea for us to help the ecosystem is create more funds like that.
So something you should
which
do.
take a chance.
Something you should do. So Sam Altman had this, Sam Altman, right? So OpenAI, ChatGPT, founder of that company. He has this podcast or like whatever, it's on YouTube. I guess it's a podcast with Jack Collison or Patrick Collison from Stripe. And within that, one of the things that he was like, that Sam said, something I've always wanted to do, haven't had the time to do it, is just to pick out like 100 of the smartest kids that normally would go work like some random job at a Google because of the stability and say, I'll give you, it's US terms, you can like do the translation to India, but I'll give all of you $100,000 a year for 10 years. With that, do whatever you want, right? So that at least that pressure of, okay, I need to go work at a job is done. He has the means to do it. You should think about doing something like this.
No, we are. We're planning this center where there's no educational requirement. We'll have our own process to get people in. We will train them with people who voluntarily give time, like all of us and many other friends of mine. We will house them. We will kind of like teach them about not what the syllabus of a college might be, but what technology and the skill sets that we think are relevant.
Yes.
Team
Yeah.
fellowship
And
type.
I can fund it to a certain extent, but I'm going to go out to my friends and ask for help. Hi, I'm Nikhil Kamath. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Comment, like, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.